Now,
Yes.
there was this report of a leaked audio, and I'm referring to something that you're involved in.
Right.
And this was attributed to the chief director of the Ministry
Lands.
of Lands and Natural Resources. And it had to do with the so-called leaked audio, suggesting that he had said, or he had lamented about the fact that the ministry, the Ghana Police, the armed forces, were all using landguards in order to protect their lands and all that.
Yeah.
Subsequent to that, the police service has issued a statement refuting it. As for the Ghana armed forces, they don't even understand why people should think that the whole Ghana armed forces will not be able to protect their lands and will have to go and get a land guard.
Yeah.
I mean, who bondog? So they've also issued a statement. Now, subsequent to that, the chief director himself has also signed a statement on behalf of the ministry, saying that the ministry has not done any such thing, and therefore he hasn't said any such thing. But on the basis of the leak tape, you addressed the media, I believe, the principles of Parliament, and you raised the issues and referred to the law. Is it a vigilante law? Yes, and all that. And thought that government was breaching the law and all those things. I want some clarity on this.
Well, Randy, thank you very much for the opportunity to attempt to bring some clarity to this matter. So, the Lands and Forestry Committee of Parliament met the Lands Commission on 10th July in Koforidua at Capital View. And in our interactions, this issue of reclamation of state lands and how they are protected came up. It was at that point that the Lands Commission referred to the ministry to respond to the queries of one of our committee members, Mohammed Suparu. And in response, the chief director shocked all of us when he disclosed that the ministry had a contract with a gentleman known as Jato, and that this Jato has a whole setup of media, of people in the judiciary, and his security to help government to retrieve and reclaim lands that have been encroached upon, and after the reclamation, sits with government to disclose the costs he has incurred in the reclamation process, for which government sometimes, in one particular case, compensates him with parcels of land. And in one particular case, they gave him 50 acres of land, and that is in the Adenta Aviation area. 50 acres of land for work done, because he came to the table and told them the cost he had incurred using this his setup of media men and members of the judiciary and then the security.
Was this said in passing?
No.
In some informal conversation?
No. It was said within the committee. It is actually in the committee report. Yes, of Parliament. Yes.
So he said it's on record?
On record. It was on record. The meeting was in session, and he said it on record. And it wasn't an in-camera hearing.
So where from this issue of leaked audio?
It's not necessarily leaked. I mean, yes, it's just the conversation. Because the committee proceedings are recorded. You have verbatim recording of the proceedings, and members can also record it. And so it wasn't necessarily leaked. But, so he said that. So members were shocked. We're like, how can the ministry, in the face of the Vigilantism and Other Related Offences Act, engage this gentleman? And by the way, Jato is known in many circles as someone who engages in landguardism. You can do a basic check on him online, and all stories you will see related to him involves the activity landguardism. So we're shocked that the state will claim to have a contract with this person to reclaim and protect government lands. And he didn't end there. The chief director didn't end there. In fact, maybe because of our shock, he went further to disclose that even the police and the Ghana Armed Forces depend on the capacity of this gentleman to protect their lands. And that is how come, as members of the committee, we immediately requested the ministry to help us with the contract that the ministry or the Lands Commission has with this gentleman, so that we could understand what was going on here. I mean, if the state does not have capacity to protect its land, and an individual is that powerful for the state to depend on that individual, then we are not really safe in this country. And Randy, what for me was scary was that in his narration also, he referred to an operation that was carried out by this gentleman involving land around the Kimbu Senior High School that the government had to reclaim, and revealed that in the process of that reclamation, there was exchange of gunfire between the men of this gentleman and then some of the people who had encroached upon the land. And that in that instance, in that case, 3 people lost their lives.
He said it on record.
He said it on record. And that it did not become a national discussion because the guy had media men on site to help cover up.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And when did this happen?
Well, we didn't find out when this happened, but he said in the reclamation process, 3 people lost their lives. So
and the media covered it.
And the media covered it
because
up.
They were
on the pay of this gentleman. I mean, in boasting about the capacity of this gentleman.
So he says that the guy has media.
He has members of the judiciary, and he has security units within the police and the Ghana Armed Forces that he uses. So, I mean, it was just mind-boggling.
Was it to justify why there's a contract with the guy?
Exactly.
So
it was to justify it, and he actually said it, that in the past, when government itself was seen, reclaiming these lands, there is usually the public outcry. And so the idea, and he says so, I mean his own words, the idea was to set up this gentleman and hide behind him. Those were the words he used. And hide behind him for these operations. I mean, it was just scandalous. It was just unthinkable, mind-boggling, that you have a nation pass the Vigilantism and Other Related Offences Act, Section 7, where it is clear that no one is allowed to promote or put together people to guard land belonging to him or any other person.
I've seen a story attributed to lawyer
Kwame Jan.
Yes. Where he also refers to a law that allows the Lands Commission to use third parties for some of these things. And therefore, within that context, he thinks that the arrangement with this particular company is on all fours.
So I have
because
said that
in the chief director's new statement, it makes the point. It makes the point about Lands Commission, not the ministry.
Yeah, I'll get to that. Now I have said that Lawyer Kwame Jan is somebody I don't know personally, but respect his.
Really?
Yes, I respect his knowledge. I've read a lot of his things on land matters and all of that.
He can be described as an authority.
Yes, he's an authority on the land, and because of that, I don't want to engage him too much, except to just say that, one, he talks about the Land Act, and I was very, very instrumental in the passage of that Land Act. Indeed, the majority leader was full of, appreciation for the work that I personally did when the third reading was done on the floor of the House to ensure that we had this Land Act in place. And I do not know any provision, and I wasn't well educated when he did not speak to a specific provision in the Land Act, that that gives the ministry this mandate. Again, and most importantly, Randy, I have cautioned that if I were Mr. Kwame Jan, I will not comment on this matter because it is an ongoing discussion and there may be issues of conflict of interest involving him. And I will just leave it at that without saying further. And so if I were him, I will not comment on this matter for now because there may be issues of conflict of interest that he may not be able to speak to. But Randy, the ministry, when this matter became public, these revelations that the chief director shared with us became public, attempted a PR work and issued a statement, unfortunately signed by the same chief director. And maybe this is just by the way, it is as if the ministry has decided to treat this matter as the chief director's problem. You went and opened your mouth too wide, so you have to deal with it. So no one in the ministry is talking, not even the public affairs unit of the ministry. So this, statement was issued and signed by the chief director. And in that statement, the chief director now says that the ministry has a contract with Enoch Holdings Limited, no longer a gentleman known as Jato. But what is interesting is that Enoch Holdings Limited is owned by Jato.
Okay.
Again, the statement says that Enoch Holdings Limited has been in this contract with the ministry since 2012. The Registrar General Department, however, reveals that Enoch Holdings Limited was only registered in 2014. So the question that arises there is, how did the ministry get into this contract in 2012 with Enoch Holdings Limited when Enoch Holdings Limited was only formed in 2014, yet the contract was supposed to have been signed in 2012? And it is the more reason why we need to see the contract as members of the committee, because the dates will also reveal something. Did you go into a contract with a company that was non-existent?
But is the chief director saying that he didn't tell you the things that he's reported to have said?
He only says he didn't use the word landguard. Okay. But as for all the things he has said, he has not denied any. But he didn't use the word landguard. But I'm saying that, Randy, how do you even set up?
So it's like saying that I said security man, not watchman.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect. That's what this is all about. Okay. That's what this is all about. But Randy, how do you set up a company? And that is another matter. Because I have checked with the Registrar General Department. And the company, yes, was formed in 2014. And among other things that they do is to provide landguard services. Yes. And I'm asking myself, how do you have a company on the books of the Registrar General Department to carry out an activity that has been prescribed?
The objects of the company
include providing landguard services.
Are you sure?
I'm telling you, Randy. But you see, I can understand that because you see, if it was formed in 2014, at that time, Act 999, which was passed in 2019, was not in operation. So perhaps at that time, there was really no legal basis to say that it is a crime to provide landguard services. But after Act 999, you can no longer have a company, providing that service. Again, what is interesting, Randy? Let me surprise you.
Yes.
So the ministry says that they have been in a contract with this company in 2012, since 2012. I've already told you that the Registrar General Department shows that the company was registered in 2014. That's an inconsistency. This is another statement that I have here that was issued by the ministry in 2019. The same ministry, titled, "We have not contracted anyone to reclaim government lands." This was in 2019. The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has denied employing the services of one Clement Jato to reclaim government lands on its behalf. Mr. Jato, who claims he has been contracted by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, has allegedly been terrorizing residents in some parts of Accra with the help of landguards. The self-acclaimed contracted staff of the ministry was on Wednesday called out by landowners around the University of Professional Studies in Accra after he led a team of military men and landguards to pull down their structures. But in City News interview, Public Relations Officer of the Ministry, Abraham Otabil, insisted that the Ministry did not have a working relationship with Clement Jatto and will adopt every means to ensure that the matter is settled in an appropriate manner. Quote, the Lands Minister has not hired a land guard to undertake any exercise for us. We are a ministry of a noble, and any transactions we go into, we make sure we do it on behalf of the good people of Ghana. So we want to reiterate the claim that the Land Minister has not contracted anyone called Jatto to protect government lands, to undertake a demolition exercise. We will not look on for that to continue. The ministry will look into the matter and ensure that there is sanity in the system, because the land sector has to do with regulations and we have the responsibility over land transactions in the country, unquote. This was the same ministry in 2019. Yet the chief director wants us to believe that this relationship, illegal arrangement, has been in existence since 2012. So at what point did the ministry, find it necessary to disown and dissociate itself from Clement Jatto, and why? There are so many questions that are not answered in this whole puzzle.
So are we being told that even if the law allows the Lands Commission to hire third parties to work on his behalf, even if the law allows that, are we being told that in a country where land guardism is only second to Galamsey,
Exactly.
only second to Galamsey,
Exactly.
the state security agencies do not have the capacity to protect the state's lands that are being encroached upon. So we would have to contract a private company that is supposed to have media, judiciary, and the security,
units in the security,
in order to protect state lands.
And Randy, remember that it is not for nothing that these lands are vested in the president, the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces.
No, but if we need, my point is that if we need a third party to protect state lands, then what business do we have
dealing with
that
a
we are
private?
fighting Galamsey?
I agree with you.
State lands.
I agree with you.
State lands. The state security agencies, by this conduct, the view of the Lands Commission, which is under the ministry, is that they do not have the capacity to protect state lands. And so there is a private company that has a capacity that no state agency or a combination of state agencies have.
That's what it's saying. That's what it's saying.
Can I?
And you see, I'm happy that the military, the Ghana Armed Forces,
and we signed a barter arrangement with the company. So when they finish, they will invoice us that this is how much we spent, and then we pay with land in return.
Randy,
50 acres in one case. Accra, center of Accra, Adenta.
I want to come in with your permission.
Please do so with surgical precision.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So one key thing. One, I'm not a member of the committee, and two, I think that to be fair to Suhuyini and the committee, I think the committee will put together a report which will be laid, and at that point in time, the final report of the committee will come out. As we speak now, he speaks in the capacity, I think, Vice Chair? Deputy Ranking. Yeah, that's right. And not for the entire committee. So just to be fair to him. So personally, not being a member of the committee, it is appropriate that I wait to see what the entire committee report comes out with. And then, in addition, I think I would also give Honorable Abu Jinapor the opportunity to come out with his final press communique in relation to this issue. But let me be a bit Ghanaian here, in the sense that, Randy, I'm weeping because many Ghanaians literally have to go through the pain of even recruiting army members to go and protect their land when the court has given a verdict And I really think that our behavior with upholding contracts in this country needs to be very well checked. And if business can hold, and if investors will come into this country, it largely depends on our ability to ensure and enforce contracts. How can I win a case in court, get my entitlement to my land, and then have to go and duke out on the land? Yeah, I mean, this is one of the very confusing things. Only to find out that maybe the other person is paying police. I mean, to do the unthinkable. And I say this because, listen, this whole thing, imagine you bought land owned by a kennel and there's issues. And this is why I can almost imagine that, kudos to Regional Minister Henry Korte, CSIR, recent.
Mm-hmm.
Recent.
Yeah.
Some of the buildings that came down, if I would say it on record, were owned by powerful men in government. Let me be very, very frank here. And he's been troubled by some powers that be because
he did.
Regional Minister did the right thing. And this is forgive me, the hypocrisy in our country, in our system, because there might be former generals, former IGPs owning buildings in a state-designated area. And CSIR, we know, I mean, this is recent, about 8 months ago, I think, and was a huge thing. And in fact, he's had to mellow, let me put it that way, because of the repercussions and the, let me say, quote-unquote, threats from people in some corridors of power. And I really think that you've started something, but we really need to blow it up and look at the real main picture of litigations about land, and then the protection and the fact that some people are taking advantage, undue advantage, because either they can pay for the illegal services of some youth in this country who are ready to die for anything and can wield a gun. And listen, about 6 months ago, driving through Oyarefa, I could hear lots of gunshots, and I was wondering what was happening. Somebody had gone in for the services of the military to come and protect his land. And these are land guards fighting. I mean, I was in shock that the military, I mean, it used to be that when you see military coming, you run. But these land guards, quote unquote, whether we like it or not, which is existent in this country, are ready to take in some concoctions and fight military even when you bring military to protect your own land. And this is serious. And I really think that along the line, we have to be very careful how we manage these things. People are building on sea defense, places. Places that are supposed to help us handle flood situations and very serious water management in this country.
You see, I do not mean to interrupt you, but just forgive me. Yeah. You made reference to the CSIR lands and the trouble that the regional minister has,
He went through and is going through.
And still going through. I'll tell you why he went through the trouble that he went through. This is a letter that I have from the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology.
Yes.
And it is dated 11 January 2022. 11 January 2022, signed by Constant K. Gladza, Director FNA for the Minister. And the letter is titled Petition to Cease Demolition Exercise and Engage. And it is addressed to the Director General, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Head Office, Accra. The letter reads, please referred to a petition addressed to the Chief of Staff, Jubilee House, and copied to the Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, amongst others. Copy attached. I am directed to inform you to cease any intended action and instead give a report on the matter to the Honorable Minister. So the Director General for the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research was directed to stop any action to reclaim their land that had been encroached upon by the minister, who also in the, the FNA director is the one who signed it on behalf of the minister, asking the what do you call it, the Director General at CSRR to stop whatever exercise they had intended to undertake to protect their lands. And so if you had the regional minister coming in to carry out an instruction contrary to the directive of the ministry. Remember, the petition went to the Jubilee House. And the minister may have also been working under instruction. So you can understand his trouble. Perhaps he didn't know that there had been a directive already to suspend, any intended action to reclaim the land. And so he went trying to reclaim it.
So these land issues, Dr. Randy Abbey, I think that if we go into it, we won't finish. But I really think that we ought to, I'm even more concerned about future, places, as we go into the eastern region, as we go into, the greater Tamale. I mean, places are now developing.
Yeah.
And I think that reforms in our land laws, and then more importantly, maybe we need a special unit of police force to handle lands, just as we have for drugs, you understand? Because land issues in this country are huge, and it so happens that if you are not rich, anybody can try and just take your land that you've paid for. And as part of some of these issues, I also forgive me, NAMEC, our chiefs who quadruple sell lands. I mean, or even sometimes, quintuplets. They sell to 6 people, sometimes 7 people, the same portion of land, and that these are part of the problems we have. So this issue, to conclude, one, I'll wait for the entirety of the committee report, and then also wait to hear from our Honorable Minister in charge of.
On my phone all this while, and these are viewers sending me their experiences.
It's terrible.
I mean, the experiences.
So what I'm saying is,
some are even sending me some documents, because I have not authenticated. But documents that suggest that even companies linked to some people in government are beneficiaries of some of the lands that you spoke about. Yeah, in Adenta and all those places. Yes.
Yeah. So this is a huge.
I've had reports even from students, especially around the Ideal College, and the fate they suffered. When this gentleman led one operation in that area, and that is the interesting part. I'm happy that the Ghana Armed Forces and the Ghana Police Service have at least, in their press statements, tried to allay our fears that they do not have the capacity to protect even lands that are under their care. But the part they have not addressed is, if they say that they don't depend on this gentleman to protect their land, and they have the capacity to do so by themselves, the other side of the coin...
That's the capacity they have.
Yes, the other side of the coin is, does this gentleman depend on them?
He depends on them
to carry out his operations. And what is the arrangement that he has with the Ghana Armed Forces and the police, for which reason he has a unit, like the Chief Director says, or units within these
government
forces
institutions
that he can deploy on site. It will be interesting to find out.
Would your committee not be interested in bringing the Lands Commission?
in fact, the engagement was with the Lands Commission.
Okay.
So what has happened is that we have made this request for the contract. We have indicated clearly that a report of that meeting will not be finalized without that contract. It is our hope that when we get that contract, even if it becomes necessary to invite the party to the contracts and the parties to the contracts.
It's not even if it becomes necessary. I think that what your committee ought to be doing is to bring the Lands Commission and bring what's the name of the company?
Enoch Holdings.
Enoch Holdings. Apparently, I know Clement.
Okay.
Apparently, yes.
Apparently.
Yes, apparently. I didn't know he was the same person. But I now know that he's the same person. I haven't seen him like
decades.
Some 8-9 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I didn't know he was, but apparently I know. But I think that for Parliament to do a thorough job, I think you should insist on bringing, because this is a very, very serious issue, on bringing the Lands Commission, the Lands Ministry, and then this particular company.
Absolutely.
And get a public broadcast of this.
Yeah, it's important because landguardism
the speaker would have to
stories
agree.
We hear about, the operations of landguards. We cannot
for those associated with the company. They also think that they are being
this is a kind of worms
they are being
type
bad
thing.
mouthed, and that what they do is really not what people speak about. But I'm just saying that this is a great opportunity.
Exactly.
For Parliament to bring the Lands Commission, to bring the Ministry, and to bring the company.
Under the direction of the Speaker.
And for the Lands Commission to establish the basis for engaging the company. And like the terms of the contract, as it is there. And for everybody to actually know the basis for actually getting those things and what has been done so far. And we need some serious transparency as far as this is concerned.
That's the whole intention that with which some of us are pursuing this matter. And I hope that my chairman is listening and will.
Who's the chair of the committee?
Honorable Francis Adabo.
Francis Adabo.
Yes.
Deputy Minister.
MP for... I've forgotten the name of his constituency.
Which region?
Ashanti region, I think.
Is he not? Okay, he's not with lands. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought. Okay, he's a chairman.
Yeah, he's a chairman of the. And then Abuaji, Honorable.
Abuaji Kwame
Abuaji is the deputy. I mean, the vice chairman of the committee. So I just hope that he's listening, so that he can cooperate for us to extensively, deal.
I think there should be a special. If the IGP is also listening, there should be some sort of a special unit.
I mean, yes, like you said, I believe that speaking with this company, speaking with the ministry, speaking with Lands Commission, we will also perhaps have to speak to the Registrar General, speak to the police and the armed forces and all of this. Because
to come to a conclusion.
Is it allowed for a company to register to provide a service that is outlawed? It will be interesting to find out why the Registrar General still has this company on its books.
Indian hemp production company is on the registered ticket.
Indian hemp production company.
Now it's illegal, but soon when this bill is completed, we production will be legal and you can register with the registrar for that. So this is a big issue, and patience and it's been decades in coming. Many administrations have been unable to really handle our litigations with regards to land. But I think as we move on, hopefully some things have to be done right. And I pray that other regions should learn quick and do regularization. And to even conclude, there are many government schools that have not completed their registration on their own lands. I mean, and Pantang is struggling right now, Pantang Hospital, because people are taking all of.
I mean, this matter that you have spoken about, I think a couple of weeks ago, I had that same problem with the ministry when I asked a question relating to the sale of the timber market land in Tamale. Now, there are records that show that part of the land that has been used by these timber merchants for so many years now is actually part of the forest reserve of Tamale, the Abu Forest Reserve. Now, it has been designated as a public land, and there is conflict between the Forestry Commission and the Lands Commission over ownership of that parcel. The Land Commission has designated this for sale and for so-called redevelopment of the Tamale metropolis. Yet, even the person whose company they have sold this land to is interesting. It's another matter. A car rental company without any capacity when it comes to developing Tamale. But yes, that land has been sold to him because the Land Commission claims it's a public land. The Forestry Commission disagrees and says it is part of the forest reserve. And when these issues are raised,
the greed of you, the political class, is what will finish this country. We are nearing there.
Randy,
your level of greed is what will finish this country completely.
It's repulsive.
Your level of greed.
It's repulsive.
That's what will finish this country completely. Your level of greed.
Our level of greed, though. We are all involved.
Your level of greed.
Not all of us, Randy.
I beg to differ. Completely finish this country.